Well, for my son, all right, we'll go ahead and start the Wood Village June 10th meeting to order. Counselor Clark, would you read the land acknowledgement, please?
I'd be happy to, Mayor. The Chinookian peoples, known as the Clackamas and Cascades, are the indigenous people of the land now inhabited by the city of Wood Village and other areas of the Columbia River. The village of the now referred to as the Nechakli was located near today's Blue Lake Park. Ancestral life of these peoples included a seasonal round of resource gathering and stewardship from the Wapato fields and fishing areas of the Columbia River to the cedar and huckleberry gathering areas of the High Cascades. Introduced disease from early settlers dramatically reduced the number of these people. They signed the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 with the United States government and were forcibly removed to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. We thank the descendants of these tribes for being the original stewards and protectors of these lands since time immemorial. We also acknowledge the systematic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many Indigenous and Native American families today. We are honored by the collective works of the many Native nations, leaders, and families who are demonstrating resilience, resistance, revitalization, healing, and creativity. We are honored to be guests upon these lands.
You. Now we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll go ahead and move to citizen comments on non-agenda items.
I have none to relay from online or otherwise, and I believe everyone in the audience this evening is here for an agenda item.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll go ahead and move with public safety report. Chief. Good evening.
Evening.
One thing I'd like to point out on your new reports is it is including the online reporting stats. So if you had any questions about what is being reported online as opposed to the normal phone CAD calls, those are broken out into your reports. Couple things to go over. Traffic accidents, you'll see it's up 14 this month from 10 the previous month. Many of those were reported hit and run calls from parking lots in the area. And then one thing I want to clarify, you'll see there's a different number on your stolen vehicle report versus your LE activity report, which is your main dashboard here. I did clarify with our planning people that the LE activity summary report is CAD data, and the stolen vehicle report is only when a stolen vehicle report is taken. So as you know, a call can come in that somebody's reporting a stolen vehicle. That may not be the case, or it may be a civil issue. So it wouldn't be reflected in your stolen vehicle report. Those are only entered stolen vehicles. So there were none this month during this month period. 3 calls I wanted to highlight that you see in your packet there. On 5/15, there was a reported robbery at Dottie's on 238th. The suspect applied a firearm and had the employee open the safe. There were no injuries reported during that, and detectives are investigating. On 5/27, you'll note a priority assault that was reported in the parking lot of Fred Meyer. One person had struck their friend with a vehicle following an argument and caused injury to that person. The suspect was arrested by patrol units for that. And then on the 31st, there was a robbery at gunpoint reported at the 24,000 block of Northeast Holiday Street. This was following an agreement to meet up to sell items. And the suspects had changed the location at the last minute to this area. So it was originally supposed to be like 238th at Jerry Park in the parking lot there. Nobody was injured from it, but 3 people were robbed, and detectives are investigating. And one thing I did want to highlight is on May 26th, we conducted a retail theft mission within the city of Wood Village and Fairview and Troutdale, coordinating with loss prevention from several retailers in the area. This resulted in 10 custodies, 8 warrants cleared, over $1,000 in merchandise recovered. And then besides the theft charges, other crimes that we charged during this were unlawful use of a motor vehicle, stolen vehicle, unlawful entry into a motor vehicle, possession of burglary tools, burglary tool, burglary two, possession of a controlled substance, and identity theft. We also recovered one stolen vehicle and towed a separate vehicle. Sorry about that. And then between the theft calls, we conducted 12 traffic stops and 3 pedestrian stops. As far as the report's concerned, that's all I have. I would like to talk to you all about an upcoming event. We are supporting Special Olympics Oregon with the law enforcement torch run, and I'll leave a packet here in case you have any interest in being involved or have anybody else who would like to be involved or maybe donate to the cause. All proceeds go directly to the Special Olympics of Oregon. It'll be at our Marine Patrol facility, which is off Marine Drive near the airport. And it goes down that little path and back. It's a 5K. You certainly don't have to run or walk. If you want to show up, you can. There's going to be a barbecue. Or if you just want to donate, anything you would like to do. So I'll leave you a packet here for anybody that's interested. So outside of that, that's all I have. Any
Awesome.
questions?
Questions from council?
None.
I do.
Oh, then please.
Yeah, first, nice work with work that you cops did, and then you do junction with another.
No, it's just the sheriff's office. Thank you.
Yeah, more than a nice job.
Yeah.
Took a lot of weapons off the street, and I just want you're talking about stolen vehicles, and I just want to reiterate something because it's budget time now. But you look at this stolen vehicle report on the trend line. You look at 24 and 25, it is clearly going down. And that's because you've had some resources. Sheriff's office. Theft piece of it, but the stolen cars. And it takes resources to make an impact. So that is very clear evidence. I'm not sure where your funding is at right now, but hopefully you're going to be able, the department's going to be able to.
Thank you.
Well, and that was kind of to my point. I know the county's budget's not officially adopted till Thursday, but we were made to understand coming out of Commissioner Jones-Dixon office and his people who are involved in this, obviously, that there's, I want to use the wrong term because I don't know county terms, but like an ad package of several things, one of which was funding to continue the retail theft task force work around the area. So I think there's a high likelihood that can continue, which I think is great. Obviously, given the results just here the other week. So the mayor and I have been tracking the county's budget process, advocating for certain things, working directly with Commissioner Jones-Dixon. So we're very hopeful that certainly I think the sheriff's office did relatively well, all considered, but also understanding, these other side programs are also essentially important. So we will see what happens on Thursday, but it looks like the retail theft task force can continue.
So I'd like to make a comment, having been on the council for many, many years, is that one of the items that the city of Wood Village has always been able to do is make an impression on the county when they've been having rough budgets and stuff over the past 20 years in supporting the sheriff's office, is that they've always been able to come away with one of the best budgets in the sheriff's department with the help of the city of Wood Village. And I would hope that after tonight and my resignation, that they'll always be able to continue to support your efforts and keep that combination going and forward from now on. So I really hope that we can pull that off, because at one point we were the only ones that could do that for you and maintain that stewardship for you. So that's been just absolutely wonderful. So.
Well, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate the support and all the deputies that work with me. We feel it. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, we see your work speaks for itself, and we're just happy to be a part of it and support you guys in any way. So thank you so much, Chief.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
All right.
All right. Anything else?
Go give some stickers to the kids in the splash pad.
Saying that.
All right. Good to see everybody.
All right,
Thank you.
have a good evening.
Night, Chief.
All right, we'll move on to reviewed bills paid. Any question on sheet or what was in the packet?
I move to approve.
Second.
No motion needed.
No
There's
motion.
no consent on this one.
Yeah.
This is just the list of bills
Oh,
paid and
okay, good.
contracts. So, but thank you.
Fine.
All right, we'll move along to resolution 17-2025 Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission budget.
And thank you, Mayor. So I want to introduce, who needs no introduction, but certainly Scott Harden. He's our representative on Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission. I believe he's given an introduction. We then have staff from the MHCRC, Andrew Spear and Douglas. I'm not sure if there's maybe some others they have there. They'll be giving that presentation on the budget. We also then have a small allocation or time allocation for Metro East Community Media, which they're here in attendance, so they have a separate but related presentation as well. So I'll certainly let Mr. Harden kick us off.
Thank you, Greg. And now I will repeat everything Greg just said because that's in my notes. So my name is Scott Harden. For roughly 12 years, I have been the city's representative on the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission, and I currently serve as vice chair. And I am here on behalf of the commission to present to you for approval the 25-26 fiscal year budget for the MHCRC. As Greg mentioned, I am joined by staff who will make that budget presentation. We have online Seema Godkumar, Andrew Spear, and Douglas Imaralu, and joined in chambers tonight by Seth Ring and John Lugton from Metro East Community Media. Okay. So despite the ever-changing technology landscape, cable franchising remains the only way that cities can negotiate with for-profit companies to use their rights of way. And in this case, it's Comcast. And as you all know, we just signed a brand new 10-year agreement. The MHCRC is represented by two community media centers, Open Signal from Portland and the aforementioned Metro East Community Media from Gresham. Those media centers offer gavel-to-gavel coverage of city council meetings, county meetings, budget hearings, many other public engagements. They create, and that's important to remember, this is custom programming, oftentimes more hours than many of your streaming services like Netflix. It's accessible, it's culturally responsive, and it offers a pathway both to community involvement and an opportunity for people to learn all aspects of video and production and podcast production so that they can tell their story. And they provide engaging, culturally diverse programming, including one of their newest shows, Food Foray, which just won a Telly Award. Telly Awards have nominees from all 50 states and 5 different continents. Shows are evaluated by industry leaders like ad agencies, producers, executives from all of the major networks. And so, there are many, many shows nominated. So make sure you congratulate the MHCRC guys when they're up here for winning that prestigious award. And if you hadn't have an opportunity to see the show, it's wonderful. I was at the premiere of the first episodes, and it's an amazing show.
What was the name of the show?
Food Foray. Food Foray. And in the first episode, there was actually a Wood Village business featured, the Russian bakery.
Back off that a little bit, it won't be so buzzy.
All right. And so essentially, in the show,
Not far away.
they the host meets with a family from another ethnic background here in our region. They shop a market that's specific to the ethnic foods that they enjoy. They cook it at home, and the host joins them for dinner. And it's an absolutely fascinating show that I would encourage you to watch. Okay. So the franchise fees are collected from the agreements, and the commission provides those to the community media centers for both operations and capital work. Okay. And you're going to, like I said, hear about that budget tonight from staff at the MHCRC. Before I turn it over to Andrew and Douglas, I just want to let you know that the commission did vote unanimously on May the 19th to approve a budget for recommendation to the city councils. Fairview and Multnomah County have both approved the budget. And the City of Portland Budget Committee has also approved the budget for recommendation to their council. And from what I understand, when a committee in the City of Portland, under their new structure, approves it for recommendation, then it normally goes on to the consent agenda. So it appears to be a foregone conclusion that it will be approved at Portland as well. And now I'll turn it over to Andrew and Douglas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Harden, and good evening, Council, Mayor and Council. My name is Andrew Spear, and I work for the City of Portland, but as part of my duties at the city, represent the MHCRC as staff. Douglas and I have about a 9-minute presentation we'll run you through, and I'll kick us off for the first slide or two. Douglas, would you put it in presentation mode and move it to the second slide, please?
Can you see my screen at the moment?
Yes.
Okay, I'm moving it on. I've moved the presentation on. Can you still see my screen?
No, I see your like it in PowerPoint version. I don't see the displayed.
Okay, give me a second, please. Apologies, technology. Can you see it now?
Now I see the background slide that you would see. Here, let me go ahead and share, Douglas. All right, can everyone see that?
No.
Not yet.
No.
There we go.
Okay. All right, apologies. Thank you. So just a refresher, I was with you last month to present the Comcast franchise agreement renewal. So some of this will be a refresh of that, but it's always good reminder. As part of our work on the commission and as staff, we help protect, as Commissioner Harden mentioned, the interest of the right-of-way as it pertains to cable operators in that right-of-way. So we do that through the franchise agreements, cable compliance of the franchise agreement, and then also collect the fees and pass those fees on to jurisdictions, which Douglas will cover here in a minute. Reminder again that the commission was formed in 1992 by an intergovernment agency agreement between the cities on the last bullet. We've gone through, as part of our process, we have to bring approval to the commission for the budget, and then we have to bring it to the member jurisdictions for final approval before the fiscal year starts. So this is part of a IGA approved process within the agreement. And I'll turn it over to Douglas to introduce himself and present the next slides.
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening, commissioners. Name is Douglas Imaralu, for the record. I'm MHCRC's finance manager and also the finance and budget lead for the community technology division at Portland City's Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. I'll be walking us through a few things about the budget, and I'm happy to take questions at the end. So the budget process for the MHCRC, it's required to have an approval of the budget by the 7 jurisdictions. Resources for the commission are primarily derived from cable and franchise fees and PEG revenues. That's the major sources of revenue for the MHCRC. Typically, the budget itself includes operational expenses, media grants, and community programs. Also, in the budget process, we go through some strategic planning. Next slide, please. So in this slide, we have just a summary of the budget with some numbers. We're anticipating that total fund revenues will be at $4.7 million in fiscal year 26. Beginning fund balance will be at $6.3 million, making a total of about $11 million total resources. Also, we are anticipating a projected revenue decline of $773,000. This again highlights the atmosphere that we're in right now, which is the continuing decline of franchise fees revenue. Also, we want to highlight as well that In this process, in this year's budget development process, we have continued with strategic planning focused on addressing industry changes and the continuing franchise fee decline. This process has become more pertinent as we continue to grapple with next steps going forward. However, major revenue sources remain unchanged, even as subscriber counts continue to decline. Just for example, just to show, in calendar year 2022, subscriber count was a little bit over 100,000. And in 2023, that had dropped to 88,000, and in 2024, 75,000. Next slide. So in this slide, we talk a little bit about just the breakdown of revenue categories, franchise fees, PEG fees. So franchise fees pay for operating costs, PEG fees, 2.5% of cable providers' gross revenues, usually allocated to capital needs of the CMCs being the Community Media Center, Open Signal, and Metrolease. Usually these dollars are used to pay for things like capital needs, including capital maintenance, capital projects, and purchase of equipment. We also have the operating budget appropriation, which is a combination of the City of Portland's special appropriation to the MACRC and also the East County jurisdiction's contribution to the annual operating budget. Other categories of revenue sources include interest earned fund. So the MACRC has an interest fund, which has been performing well in the last few years. It also supplements the fund budget, also with carryover balances from previous years. Next slide, please. So on this slide, we attempt to show like a graphic breakdown of franchise fee revenue estimates for fiscal year 26. As you can see on the screen, the city of Wood Village would be receiving a little over $5,000 in fiscal year 26 as franchise fees revenue. That figure represents about 2% of total franchise fee revenue. And it's important to note here that, you know, as the subscriber count keeps going down, that fee will probably keep going down as well, just to compare from last year and this year. So in the current year, fiscal year 25, we're expecting to have a total franchise fee revenue of about $291,000. And in next year, FY26, we're expecting that to drop to about $260,000. Next slide, please. So on this slide, again, just trying to explain a little bit about budget expenditure and the different things that are included in budget expenditure. That is the amount of money that is spent in a fiscal year and what they are spent on. So franchise fees disbursement, which are the quarterly transfers to the general fund of each respective jurisdiction. As we showed on the previous slide, the city of Wood Village will receive about $5,000, a little over $5,000 in fiscal year 26. Community media expenditure withdraws from franchise fees and PEG fees to fund the operating costs and capital needs of the community media centers. MACRC operating costs, which pays for personnel, staffing, legal, and other associated costs. And also, which is the most interesting thing on this slide, and from my perspective, is the $1.1 million that the MACRC will be investing in our communities to support nonprofits and other educational and public access media projects. Next slide. So these slides just try to explain a little bit about the numbers and the allocations to the two different community media centers, Open Signal and Metrolease. So Open Signal in fiscal year 26 will be receiving about $1.6 million, $699 will go to operations, again, paying for staff and other operating costs. $977 will go into their capital allocation for fiscal year 26. Again, this would be used for costs, including equipment purchases, capital projects, and maintenance. For Open Signal, it will be $2.4 million, $1.4 million for operating costs. I must highlight here that this cost is typically associated with the City of Portland. The City of Portland takes care of the operating cost. For Open Signal, then the annual capital allocation for Open Signal in fiscal year 26 will be about $1 million to support equipment purchases and other capital projects and maintenance as well. Some of these numbers are also highlighted on slide 4 if you want to go into it a little bit more. At this time, I'm going to pause and turn the presentation back into the hands of Andrew, who is more technically savvy than I am, and he will walk us through to the end.
Thank you, Douglas. Just wanted to highlight a little bit what Douglas was touching on with regards to the grants. did want to note that the $1 million budgeted for FY26 is the same amount that we are currently operating under for this fiscal year. So while cable revenues continue to decline for PEG and franchise revenues, at least in this near term, we're able to fund community grants at the same level, which I think is really important to highlight for our communities and jurisdictions just within the work of the commission. The other bullet points in this slide are just highlighting the diversity of grantees and those programmings that have gone on to the PEG channels. I'll let you read those, what's up on the slide, but I think it's just important to note that, you know, we cover the full county of Multnomah County in terms of our service district, and our grantees reflect that kind of diversity across the county. Douglas touched on the strategic planning efforts and how it's been funded in the budget. I think the council has been briefed in a couple of forums, and the city manager and mayor has been involved in a little bit of those discussions as well, more directly. As we continue to see cable revenue declines and then yet seeing the community needs, I think that's the nexus of how do we engage within the commission and the process with the commission to ensure that needs of jurisdictions are met via the commission structure and operations. So that all that planning work is going on currently with the commission itself, and then with the consultant that's doing that facilitation and engagement with you all as jurisdictions. So really encourage you all to lean in via your city manager and be able to identify needs and help identify what the needs are of your jurisdiction within the MHCRC structure. Next steps and kind of what we're here for. As mentioned at the first slide, we are running through our IGA process of getting jurisdictional approval of the commission's budget. We are asking for your approval tonight of the budget as presented, and are happy to take any questions. I did want to note one thing. Normally we would have sent out with the budget process the annual report. We ran a little bit short, and I believe the annual report has maybe been sent out to Greg already. And then
It's in their packet. They got it as part of their council report.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Appreciate that. So that is already in your packet, so disregard my last comments. But just want to highlight that any more detailed information around this past fiscal year is included in there, and there's some interesting facts and detail around the grantees also that you can reference. And with that, I will stop sharing and happy to take any questions if there are any.
Questions by the council? No questions.
So you could probably, you could do one of two things right now, kind of pause the motion, wait to hear from Metro East and the good things they do, so you understand what that does in the budget. Or you could, adopt the budget and then hear from Metro East. It's really your decision on how you want to move forward.
Any preference by the council?
We can hear from Metro East.
All right, well,
I'll get their presentation for them.
I guess while he's doing that, I did have one question. How much longer on the MHCRC IGA?
Yeah,
It's perpetual.
Perpetual?
correct.
Good evening, Mayor and City Councillors. John Luckton here from Metro East Community Media, Director of Production Services and member of our leadership team. Thank you for the support over the years. We really, really appreciate that. And we wanted to take this opportunity just to tell you a little bit more about what we, as we've just heard, we receive our funding through the MHCRC to provide media and technology services in East Multnomah County. And this funding really enables us to be a community-centered media organization and valued community partner. I just focus on our mission. We really focus down on our mission because we really want to use media to invigorate civic engagement, getting people involved here, inspire diverse voices, as you saw, like mirrored there through the grant program, and basically strengthen community life. I'm going to now pass off to Seth, who's going to share a little bit more about who we are and what we do.
Hi, everybody. I'm Seth Ring, Director of Volunteers and Education at Metro East Community Media. I'm going to share a little bit about our annual report. And this is Jasmine Vasquez Sierra, and she actually started with us during middle school when we had Holiday Open Showcase, which is like a musical performance that we invited middle schools and high schools into. And she has sort of worked up through the ranks and now actually works at Metro East. And this is a film workshop that we did with Rosewood Initiative with Rohingya and Burmese participants, and then somebody was from Chad as well. So just a little bit about what we do for people that may not be as familiar. This kind of explains itself. You know, we teach people how to create media content in many different forms. We produce content, i.e. food foray, but we also work with nonprofits and educational institutions, government organizations to produce content. And then we share that content over our cable channels, but also over YouTube and the interwebs in general. We have served, this is our 23-24 report. We'll get our 24-25 to you soon, I hope. But in 23-24 fiscal year, we served over 50 organizations over the course of the year. That's with a staff of about 11 people. Some highlights about sort of who we serve and how many people we serve. I'll let you kind of digest that. But I want to call out that, you know, through our education efforts, we serve people through our public-facing classes, but we also have our new community sort of media cohorts program where we're working with underserved groups to produce content. So an example of that, we are working with Free Geek right now to produce a digital inclusion podcast. And before that, we were working with Underscore News, which is a native news organization, to produce a vodcast. We cover government meetings, which we're at one, and I think most people have met Emily that lives in the room back there. Mm-hmm. So we produce a lot of content there, and we also have, again, you know, produce content for nonprofits and other organizations. And we have our BIPOC filmmaker program where we worked with BIPOC filmmakers to sort of build them up to be able to work in the industry. And you can take a look at our content reach over here in this panel. We have kind of large pillars that we're working on right now as sort of our programming thrusts. And one of them is the Mobile Media Lab, which we got feedback from the community that it was easier for us to deliver content. And that's the point of the Mobile Media Lab, is we're going out to the community to deliver content. The Food Foray docuseries is a exploration of food in East County, and basically Scott kind of stole the thunder, but you know.
One featured Babushka, which is just technically it's a new mode.
Yep. That's a big part of our programming. And then obviously government meetings. I just want you to take a look at this slide, not so much the fun donut chart, but also that we are trying to build up and fill in our budget deficits because we know that MHCRC funding is going down. And we've been very successful in getting grants and are working on sponsorships and individual donations amongst other revenue sources to keep us whole. And obviously, we're 40 years old. We had our celebration, I think it was last summer. So, you know, we've been serving East County for 40 years plus. Now I'm going to make a little transition and talk a little bit about our community needs assessment, which we conducted over the last 9 months. So we asked 4 groups. One was youth, so the schools that we work with or nonprofits we work with. Another is producers, so people that produce content through us or are people that are in our cohorts. We did some sampling through tabling, so this is at Rock the Block. And we also did, we've been reaching out to organizations to ask, what do you need of us? So the feedback that we've been getting is, one, when we ask producers sort of how do you want to use us, or the community media station, these are the things that they said. The number one thing was to tell your own story. And that goes way back to the roots of community media, is empowering people to tell their story the way they want it to be told. Deliver information to your community and then become a professional media creator followed. We found that 64% of organizations were interested in our production services in different ways, like maybe how to make an educational video or make an art or music video, and then also interested in creating promotional content about them. And the last bit is, this is sort of, we also asked, what kind of gear do you want to use? What do you want to learn? Most people were interested in things like iPads or mirrorless cameras, laptops, GoPros, things that sort of empower them individually. We work kind of like a library. We check out gear, and people wanted to have that mobility, be able to bring things home and work at their own time and their own pace. They were interested in live streaming, editing, and social media content. And for instance, right now, we just finished with a social media content creation for small businesses class with Guerreras Latinas. So that was from direct feedback. They asked, could you do this? And we said yes. So we're really trying to fit the needs of the community and and this community needs assessment has really helped us realize, like, yes, we're headed the right direction, but we have to sort of continue to change and recalibrate with what the community wants from us.
Thank you. So Metro East isn't your average nonprofit. There are a few others, I'm going to say, out here in East Multnomah County that provide similar services, but none of them offer the breadth or the depth that we can offer, which kind of makes us a little bit unique. So once again, thank you for your support over the years. Very, very much appreciated. Thank you.
Good questions?
Questions by the council?
Take questions.
Comment, maybe.
Yeah.
Every time I hear this presentation, I just continue to be impressed by what the organization is doing and how it's reaching out to those segments of our community that would otherwise probably go untouched. So your mission, it appears, is being accomplished every day and every year that you put together your plans. So thanks for that work. And the compliment on the Tony Award. I haven't seen that, but that's probably quite an accomplishment.
Very overwhelming. That's just awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll also add, I remember 3 years ago, you guys came and did this exact same presentation. And at that time, I asked, how could we bring some of those services here to Wood Village? And, through Play East, we've been able to do that. So this summer, it'll be 3 years that we'll be offering free technology camps to identified locations where folks are underserved and don't have the means to get to your station, but you guys are bringing the mobile media lab. So that's been an awesome partnership for Play East, and we're hoping to continue that as well.
I can also say that when we first were asked to bring in televisions here, I was absolutely scared to death of that. I mean, I was like petrified on the idea of us being on camera. Greg remembers that very well. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, not that we were doing anything wrong. It was just that it was just so petrifying. But anyway, now it's just like every day. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So there is not a slide that has a suggested motion, but if you would like to adopt the budget, you can essentially say we, move to approve resolution 17, 2025, approving the Mountain Cable Regulatory Commission budget.
I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to adopt the budget for Metro for the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Budget.
1725. Did you second it?
Yeah.
Oh, I second.
There's a first and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. From the commission, from Metro East, really appreciate your time here this evening. And you're welcome to stay and learn more about what we're up to, but you're also free to go about your evening on this pleasant summer,
Yes.
not quite summer evening.
Also play on the splash pad if you like.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and move to resolution 18, 2025, waste management rate adjustment.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. So this is Resolution 18, 2025, looking at adjusting waste management solid waste rates. So a little bit of background. So it's been about a year and a half since we've had this. So Waste Management is a solid waste provider in the city with a non-exclusive franchise, meaning a different provider could come. But through city code, it does allow for a 10% rate of return, and the latest rate from Waste Management didn't quite meet that. And the last increase was about a year and a half ago. And a few things have happened since then. Obviously, there's price escalations and just inflation in general, but also with the Oregon Solid Waste Modernization Act, which occurred in 2021, there's escalating new steps and regulations to follow. So that trickles down into Metro, which trickles down into our local region, which impacts waste management. So Metro increases tipping fees by $8.47 a ton. And because even though Waste Management has its own transfer station in our region, they have to kind of follow that same disposal schedule. So between that and, some additional just costs and whatnot, they need an adjustment. Now, this adjustment, it's not a straight, when we do our utilities, we can pretty much do water's this percent, sewer's this percent. But because this is based on tonnage, Waste Management adjusts it kind of estimating the tonnage and how that impacts the tipping fees, disposal fees, et cetera. So for Wood Village, as of last time, the most common service is the 35-gallon cart, followed by, I think the report, I call it a 60. I think it's technically a 64-gallon cart. Those are the two most popular, the 35-gallon being the most. You'll see that the 35-gallon is going to go up $2.29, the 64, $3.39. We've got a 7.4 and 8.3% difference. And again, that's based on the estimated weight of every cart. So this is also in your report, but you can see what the proposed is. And waste management is always nice and, shows how does that relate to the region. So even though waste management has its own costs, it still, shows throughout the area. We're very close to Troutdale, but a bit less. There's a few reasons why. The only exception is on, I believe it's, the 64-gallon cart. They're slightly less, but certainly less than Fairview, Gresham, and Portland. So, there's how the general rates would work. There's a whole rate sheet that was part of your packet. What we also did in this one was include the food waste recycling, which I don't think had been adjusted since we adopted it, I think 2012 or thereabouts, because we were a very, very early adopter of that because some businesses wanted to do that. Waste Management was able to offer that, but it was on a separate rate schedule. So now we have a combined whole schedule for all the services there. So I'm going to pause right here. We do have representatives from Waste Management. They can share a little bit more background, have an opportunity for some questions if you'd like. So I want to invite Mike Jeffries and Dave Huber up to the hot seat.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm Mike Jeffries, Area Pricing Director, and Dave Huber.
Good evening, Dave Huber, Public Sector Manager for Waste Management. Thanks for having us here this evening.
Really, I think the last time I was here, we were trying to keep rates down, and I promised we wouldn't be back for a few years. And so here we are a year and a half later. And since that time, we've experienced 3 different rate increases with the Metro rates. And we've done a really good job in keeping the rates low, being as efficient as possible, but there are some taxes and fees that have come and disposal rates going up. So really what we're asking for is really a more or less a disposal increase and, and covering some additional wages that we've had. We've had a new union contract that allowed our drivers to get a living wage increase. And those are probably the two big factors that have driving this rate request.
Questions?
I had a question. So, Charlesville, do they use waste management as well?
They do, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I do have a few questions, and this is timely because I'm going to share some experiences in our household that we have been having with waste management, okay? So, but first, the 10% that you're guaranteed, or is that the 10%, yeah, in the city code and the IGA that you have? So you're allowed 10% more, less, or?
It's technically, it's not a guarantee. So basically, anytime that we're looking to set rates, we try to set it at a 10%. And then if we earn more or less than that, then, we would be in here for a rate request or a rate reduction. So technically, it's not a guaranteed rate of return of 10%, because if so, we would be saying, hey, last year we only earned 6.5%. So therefore, we'd like you to pay us another 3.5% to get us to that 10%. So
I appreciate that. It can be up or down from that. So the second question.
Add a quick note to that. In all the years we've been doing this, I don't recall a single one. So they do send us their financials for the year that outline everything. I don't recall a single one that was near 10. So it generally hits not 10, but it's below 10, but certainly when it starts hitting around 6 is when they tend to come here for an adjustment. And that was based on a decision from council. I want to say 10, 12 years ago, because waste management hadn't been here in a long time. Again, no one likes rate increases, but it was a pretty big hit because it'd been so long. And council's direction was, we'd rather see you more often with bite-sized chunks to keep it within a reasonable level for waste management and the community members than to go 5, 7 years with no increase and having a larger increase for the consumer.
Right. Makes sense. The point that what I'm going to raise with you is that first, you're a solid partner with our city. And you have, based on our city manager's description just now, and you've been a solid player. You cooperate with us. You help us do the annual cleanup. And I certainly understand that there are cost increases that you don't have control over. Bargaining a union contract is tough work. And usually you figure out just how much it's going to cost you. So my point is, and I want to share this with you, because I've asked several people that also have waste management, how do you get information back to you that helps guide your customer service? I'm going to narrow that down. So your drivers are great. Well, we've had various drivers, but you guys seem to hang on to your drivers too. Been great. My wife and I travel, and the problem we're having consistently is when we put in an order to either delay, not pick up service, it's very frustrating and complicated, with usually about a 45-minute wait for your whoever's representing that and answering the phone that day. And those the individuals are experienced. I'm only talking about my experience. I've had just a few conversations. I wasn't out looking for dirt. I can just we're living this. And oftentimes, the agents that are even working and taking the information, they flat get argumentative that, no, you didn't send in an order. And we have. And dismissive. So you didn't come here, the rate increase notwithstanding, that's not what I'm wanting to make you aware of. But I do want to know, how do you check? While you're a great partner with the city, how's it working for and the rate's going to go to our citizens. So how do you know how well your citizens are feeling about the service? Are there ways that you can get that information? Do you do that all the time? I've heard there's surveys, but I haven't seen the surveys. Do they?
Yeah. No, thank you, Counselor, for those comments. I mean, as much as we don't want to hear those comments, we do.
You got to hear it if you're going to.
And, we apologize for that inconvenience, that you've put in requests for vacation holds and so forth. But we do, our company does send out surveys. And they're actually done on a quarterly basis. We call them the VOC, which is the voice of the customer. And so that's when it's the opportunity for the community members here in Wood Village to voice any concerns that they may have, whether it's customer service or driver issues or route, missed pickups, that kind of thing. So if you haven't received that, I don't know if I can send one your way, but
well, if
I don't know if you guys want to.
We will be much more. You just heard it, so there's no point in getting an email. So what is the general feedback? Do you share that with the cities? So what are you hearing from your customers?
Yeah,
generally, or just what you don't have the report in front of you, but
right, and we can certainly share that with city staff and let them know what the community is saying. Typically, as you mentioned, there are a lot of great comments about the service, the drivers who are in the neighborhoods each and every week, the safety elements that we provide the city. We've had challenges on the customer service end of things, over the last 3-4 years, just staffing challenges and getting adequate staffing to take those customer service calls. But yeah, we certainly, and it's something that we're continuously working on and, trying to make sure that we provide the best service when it comes to taking care of the customer's needs.
Yeah, and that's really what I want to hear, is that you are you're listening, and then you're trying to do something about it. Because when we make we're going to make an action here on a rate increase, I want to make sure that our citizens are happy with the service too. And as we do this, so we can answer those questions that might come up, that they got another rate increase and they just had one 18 months ago or whatever it was. So,
yeah, we can certainly go back and generate some reports that show the number of complaints for the entire year and see how that compares to prior years. And, the one thing that I always look at is, if you never want to hear complaints, but I mean, the number of services that we provide on a daily basis where we're picking up garbage, recycling, yard debris, weekly, there's a lot of different opportunities for us to have a failure. And, it's hard to hear that our failures are actually coming from our customer service, because that seems like that should be the easiest part of the job. So, and we have definitely, like Dave indicated, we've had some staffing issues. We feel like we've addressed those, and we're expecting to see some improvements in our customer service.
Glad I appreciate that. I mean, it's, and like I said, I usually would rather talk about, I usually choose the one-on-one, sitting down together, eyeball to eyeball, talking about things, sending back a survey. But we will look for the survey. And we will also mark the good things, because we're happy with, like I said, the politeness and the attention. We even give them a box of chocolates every Christmas. Sits out there and off they go with it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I have two comments. One is that, yeah, I know that you keep your trucks really nice and clean, but one of the factors that comes into play is that you have a lot of hydraulic leaks, and drivers don't necessarily see them, especially the drivers that do not have to get out of their trucks to empty. And on my street in particular, I'll see the hydraulic leaks. And as you probably already know, it only takes 1 teaspoon to ruin 1,000 gallons of water going downstream. The problem is that the truck may or may not realize that for quite a ways, and then nothing's done to clean it up. So you're part of the DEQ responsibility would be to follow up on that and clean that up. And I know that since I was in solid waste management, I had the highest license that you could get. I'm the only person in the state of Texas that had a perfect score, and then nobody else has done that since. And then my second tongue in cheek is that I applied for a job in 2003 with Waste Management, and you refused to hire me, which that just blew me away. But that's a tongue in cheek one, okay? And I couldn't figure out why you wouldn't hire me, but that's beside the point. But that is serious about not cleaning up afterwards. And a matter of fact, you could go to my old address and you could follow that trail today, and that's been on the ground for over a month. And that's because there really hasn't been any rain, and you can see a trail there. And if you want the address, it's on Shamrock Drive, 3800 block. And you'll see it today. And it's basically because there hasn't been much rain. And not that there's a whole lot you can do now because it's not fresh. But the point is that we've got a failure in communication on when those leaks happen. So other than that, I understand rate increases. They're not your fault. Metro's increasing theirs, and it's a pass along. So.
Thank you, Counselor. And to your point, you're exactly right. It is harder for the drivers with the automated system to see those hydraulic leaks if they're minor, if they're small drips. But
well, these are quite massive, in case you're wondering. And I realize you have large tanks, and it takes a long time before they start to fill out. And unless it's spraying up high or something, they're not going to see it for, I don't know, a block and a half or so. But that's a lot of it, a lot of hydraulic fluid.
yeah, exactly. But we do extensive training, safety training on protocols to avoid hydraulic leaks, whether it's their pre-trip inspections, post-trip inspections throughout the day. And then what to do if there is a severe hydraulic leak to keep it out of the storm drains and protect the environment.
Do you carry DEQ stuff to put down to collect that up?
We
do. The drivers, are they trained on all of that kind of stuff to start following the trail or call out emergency services within your group?
Exactly, we are, and it's.
I've never seen one.
Yeah, the trucks do have spill kits on each individual truck. So, they're trained to make sure if there is a leak, by all means, we try to block that leak from going into the storm drain system. That's really the most important thing.
Okay. So, I've never seen them do that, and I'm retired. I've been retired for 10 years, and I've never seen them do that. So we need to work on that.
You bet. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions from the council?
Just to follow up, is it possible, or do you send comments from our citizens in Wood Village? How do you get that information back to the city manager so they could share that with the council?
I'd be more than happy to pull the most recent report and send it to Greg and share that so he can share that with you.
Fair enough. I think that's an important step. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Weren't quite expecting all of that.
Well, you guys, thanks for being here. Yeah.
It's not
All
about
right.
the
Well,
aiding.
a few comments to make after all of that good stuff. One, actually, I'll go back to this slide. One, with the state's Modernization Act for solid waste, some of the smaller haulers, nothing against smaller haulers, there's good and bad with everybody. There's a lot to do with fleet updates. Hydraulic leaks aside, Waste Management's fleet does meet a lot of the new and upcoming standards. So again, they've already kind of absorbed and worked into those costs. Containerization, another one. So again, having Waste Management, and being around the nation, can absorb those costs or have already, worked those into potentially lowering future increases. Second, on the point of customer service and satisfaction, I would say short of the reroute, which is about a year ago? Yes. Yeah, I can't remember if it was a year or two. I would say we get about 1 or 2 calls or emails a year about some waste management, call it concerns, most related to missed pickups or trying to schedule a re-pickup. Again, the reroute aside, we don't get a lot of, hey, how do I connect with waste management? So anecdotally, but looking forward to seeing what the actual reports say. So that'll be great. So moving forward on the actual rate side of things, if approved, it would be effective July 1st. You do need to have a public hearing and open that for public comments. What you can do if you're not quite ready to adopt or not comfortable, certainly request a detailed audit for that rate of return, look at their financials, request that the rate be phased in. The staff recommendation, though, is to adopt the revised rate schedule, because as we've seen, it's happened in the past, it has to push or pull a month or 2, and that adjusts the rate just a little bit more because they've already kind of amortized it out over the next period. So there's a suggested motion, but we do need to open that public hearing in advance of the motion.
I have one more question or a comment, I should say. I agree with the increase, but having it less than a 30-day notice or how are they going to be notified? Because that's not, I feel like that's not a sufficient amount of time. I know it's a minimal amount, but.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say
So we can make that in the motion to be effective August 1st, 2025. And we would, if approved, we'd put it in the upcoming newsletter as well. And I think Waste Management sends a little postcard as well, typically.
Yeah.
All right. So that we'll get it on 2 fronts.
We'll go ahead and open the open hearing. And we'll close the open hearing.
I move to approve resolution 18-2025, setting new rates for solid waste and recycling services in Wood Village effective August 1st, 2025.
I'll second.
It's been first and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Waste Management, for being here this evening on the warm seat.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And thank you guys for adjusting the start of the effectiveness on the day. That is much appreciated, the full 30 days. We'll go ahead and move to resolution 19-2025. Fiscal year 2026 APP adoption.
Yep, adopting the APP. You saw this 2 weeks ago, so I'm just gonna, kind of skim through the background, because if those are interested, could either pull up the staff report or look at the council presentation from 2 weeks ago. But essentially, we talked over this at the retreat in March. Talked over at your last council meeting, so we're going for adoption. One thing I do want to point out are, a lot of the items we do could fall under a lot of different goals. We try to find the best fit goal for the item. So some areas, goals this year don't have a identified task, but that doesn't mean there's not overlap. It's just not identified in that one task. So in goal 1, no specific items, but clearly the work on fire fits, safe, clean, inclusive community. It just happened to fit better where, say, exemplary police and fire and building services. So that's where the upcoming work on fire service discussions and that implementation live. Just like high quality, cost effective public utilities, parks and events. So we've got our wetland park development, our sewer and I&I reduction projects, and our reservoir and booster station investigation. For the financial stability, it's the fire service financing side of that conversation and work. So then in goal 5, a work environment that develops and encourages employees, rewards creativity and innovation. No specific items this year. This, the current year we have the union negotiation and things, but we're always pushing the re-engineering work, and we just did the award at the last council meeting. Also the education reinvestment and reimbursement program, which will have someone entering in the next fiscal year. So still doing the works, just on identified specific project. For goal 6, which is the effective local, state, and regional partnerships, we've got the short session coming up, and we're already well underway with, and though there's still, let's see, 19 days left in the current session. And then for goal 7, again, responsible environmental leadership, no specific ones, but clearly the wetland enhancement and restoration fits this beautifully, along with other works that we do. And then lastly, we look at intentional community engagement. We know there's the fire service financing. So we did kind of bridge that one because there's the actual mechanics of it, plus then the engagement side of that one. Same with the wetland park. While we got the build out plan, we know there's still a bit more engagement to do for the unrestricted areas, the gateways, the placards and panels and things. So those are the projects. Here's how it lays out exactly as you last meeting. What questions may I entertain before we move to a motion?
Questions, comments?
I have one. We're missing the street utility combined project.
We took that off the APP because it's typically an annual thing and as part of the I&I reduction work.
Okay.
It's all about fire.
There you go.
I move to approve resolution 19-2025, adopting the fiscal year 2025-26 annual performance plan.
I will second that.
First and second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Carries.
Thank you all very much.
We have, there's 2
bonus items,
and Greg will kick yours off first before we move on to the last bonus item.
Yeah, the last item really the bonus item. This is a work item.
Yeah.
Want to give everyone a little update on the firework. Not fireworks, but the work on fire service. So hopefully you got the email this morning from me, we got the AP Triton report, and I'm sure you've digested about the 90 pages of content and the 100 pages of appendices. So we're ready for a robust conversation.
175 pages, so I'm trying to read this meeting, but.
No, so I want to touch on that, but before you, last week I sent an email, what we want to do kind of end of June time is work directly with Praxis on, kind of a speaker training or talking points training with you all and some others, mostly around this report and next steps. We've heard from some of you that the 23rd or 26th of June is preferred. It's going to be about 90 minutes, but wanted to, since y'all here, just firm up that date. And do we want to, at 5:30 or 6? Just answer kind of that question.
You said 23rd or 26th?
Correct.
Yeah, those are both dates I can do. I prefer 5, but
5:15 is also an option.
5:05. Any more for 5? No? Okay.
Well, no, I'm good for 5. I'm good for 6. So whatever works for you folks, still getting out of bed in the morning and going to work.
23rd, 26th, or 30th.
The 26th would work great because I'm already here. And so we could do 5 o'clock on 26th.
In the morning?
Oh, no.
Pat, it's 5?
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So me, these are the dates I
Go to
highlighted,
better
so
day.
that way I know.
Because I'm already here.
Really great.
Yeah. Okay, great. I will confirm with Praxis 26th, 5 p.m. Again, about 90 minutes. We might have some light refreshments or something, make it fun.
26.
Correct.
All right.
And again, really, hit the high points of that report, because what Praxis is going to do is develop, so they call it a 1-pager. My guess it's going to be a front and back. Kind of goes beyond the executive summary. And, we'll use it as a publication piece, but also my guess will be a lot of the talking points plus next steps. So part of other next steps are a 3 city council meeting again to go over the report. And this is where the report and the next steps starting to blend together with Going to get you peek behind the curtain on some of the struggles with this report. I would say overall, it's very detailed, has great information, and really articulates, as you saw from the retreat, some of the challenges and opportunities and service load and demand. No question about that. That seems very solid work. One thing we did not get out of it was, when we did the proposal, evaluate an independent 3 cities district. Our AP Triton never fully articulated why. Not sure because we had the project manager change, some late breaking developments that, shifted maybe staff time. They didn't do that. What they did was, here's what the cost would be to add some key fire personnel. I think it's about 18 firefighters plus like a chief, assistant chief, and I think an other, to an existing city, incorporated into their, operations that the other cities could contract with through an IGA. So that's what they costed out and evaluated options against, not a district. It does sort of point to that could develop into a district, but we, staff felt that doesn't. A casual reader may misinterpret that as, oh, the 3 cities could run, a fire department between $5 and $6 million. Because it doesn't account for, even if a city did it, additional overheads, maybe additional staffing for that host city. And it certainly doesn't cover, that 30,000 foot level of, hey, this also doesn't represent a district cost, which would have all the plethora of services, as an independent cost. That's IT, legal, insurance, admin support staff. So we fought a lot on that. I have not yet signed off on the we accept the final report page, kind of pending. It's a balance. Do we keep fighting that, which is probably an avenue we're not going to explore as, 3 cities. But, doesn't match the scope, doesn't exactly give us what we'd asked for. Or do we just say, yeah, you missed on that one, AP Triton. We don't like it. We're going to focus our energies, on the next steps moving forward. That's the other kind of point that I think they punted on, or, did a bunt for another sports metaphor, got a bogey. The recommendation, it's weak.
Yes, I read the first few pages.
Just spoiler alert, it basically says, well, there's no harm in trying to work something out with Gresham because maybe they want to do something with you all. That doesn't work. Great. You've got Clackamas. And if that doesn't work, hey, do your own thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, here, follow the bouncing
The first
ball.
recommendation before we went down the list.
Now, again, that's not something we can necessarily want to influence, impact, or otherwise, because it's, consultants, it's their independent, their thoughts, their expertise. Just not happy with it. And again, not sure if that was, the project manager change, because it did seem, and I'm confident AP Triton had all the reasons in the world to do what they did. It seems like they, instead of, hey, we need to now, over deliver on this because there's shift in the schedule and change in project manager and, commendations, they went to, hey, we're just going to go in defense mode, wrap this project up, send it out. Kind of how it felt, even with the delays. And so really the question is, how much more engagement do we want with AP Triton, including presenting at a 3 city council meeting where, while Rich, I think, did a fine job at our retreat, I've also had to do damage control from interviews he did with other stakeholders.
I kind of getting the point here. All right, Greg, what do we own? Have we, that's a key piece that we needed. And I know you've been all over them, and Seth too, probably. But that is a pretty key piece to this $100,000 research. And do we have, split between the 3 cities? And I'm surprised, maybe Fairview thinks it's fine. Maybe Troutdale does too. I don't. I mean, that was what we really needed out of this research and costing. But, what my sense is, you get this report now. What is it? What's in it that is maybe not well researched? It's just, let's get this out the door. So I always start questioning when a consultant can't get to the heart of the matter and they leave it out. So my question is, I would like to have that.
And by what is that your
The representative.
I want to know what the district would look like. Isn't that the key?
I think it depends it depends. I really don't think, so I was able to talk with Troutdale, their manager, about this. He said, let it go, because they have no interest in trying to start up a brand new district. He said he'd rather focus on what our future is, which isn't a small 3-city district. Well, that was, his view of it. What we try to do, Seth, others, was in AP Triton's defense, there were some late breaking developments that they actually did incorporate into the report. So there was evolution there that they did incorporate. What we try to do is basically let's bridge this and say, okay, AP Triton, you didn't do the tasks assigned, and you gave some reason because you said, oh, well, we want to give you an option you can implement right away. We then just asked for basically some statement saying this doesn't necessarily represent the potential full cost for a host city, subsequently the other contracted cities, and it certainly doesn't represent the cost of a district. That's what we asked for to be explicit in that section, which they didn't deliver. That's also something there will be work to do in the PR side of all this, whether people read the report or not. Developing the one-pager, developing key talking points, other graphics based on this report. That's something easily explainable. We can craft that. It just would be nice to actually be explicitly in the report.
Well, it would be nice to have them at least crunch those numbers, because if we're going to be PRing and we're going to be talking about how much money this thing is going to cost, that was part of what we were asking for, is what is the financial implications for going with a Fire District 1 as a choice.
So we have that. We have Gresham's multiple different offers and what that costed out to be. We have what had been submitted at the time of the report from Clackamas 1. That's changed since then, just in the last week, because we did get an updated kind of proposal. And then we have a very rough, here's additional fire staff costs. But that's it for that. Be that independent kind of department or potential future district. But we have the good costs on Gresham going out 6 years, and that compares to the Clackamas 1 proposal at that time.
So here's my perspective in reading, I read 7, 8 pages of it.
And I have not yet read it, so.
For me, I think the report was to validate why we're moving forward, right? And it's also kind of what I thought we were going to fall back on when we have to kind of prove that to our citizens, and someone who maybe if I've removed myself from knowing all the background of what I know, and I read this to say, does this support it? I would look at a report over maybe a Q&A. And probably because I feel like the report might be a little bit more professional and well thought out. So I honestly don't even know, I'm a little worried with even having a PR campaign, what that would, if that would change anything. It might sway a few people. But I thought the report would solidify our decision.
I think what the report does do pretty well is say the current financial model that we operate under is not sustainable. It does do that. now it punted on what is the sustainable model.
I think what would, I don't know if this is feasible, to get a statement from AP Triton saying that they didn't fulfill the RFP that they,
We try to do that too.
and they won't acknowledge,
They won't
not
acknowledge
being
it.
able to hit the actual deliverables, because they didn't hit the deliverable.
We had a difference of opinion. They said that the municipal fire department met the criteria of an independent fire district, and we said, no, it doesn't. Those are two different things.
Very, very different things.
Do we still, by contract, owe them money?
Yes, we do. We haven't paid an invoice, I think.
Well,
Since
then,
February.
It's about 30,000,
Okay.
almost 30,000.
so where I'm going with this,
A breach of contract.
they don't get any more money unless they deliver on what we wanted. And if they haven't delivered on it, don't give them any more money. And we're not,
We haven't.
well, and
I mean, like, is there somewhat of a breach of like the contract with what they originally, what we asked them?
I think that'd be a question.
So we
for-
would have to make a decision of whether or not we wanted to have our city attorney take the time to review the contract and the documents and see if it.
I just think it's,
Well,
it's, this, I mean, this is a big, issue for us.
the information, I'm not opposed to paying somebody if they get us what we want. And if they've had all these problems that I know you've listened to, Greg, just why we've stuck with you. But you don't walk out now and collect the rest of the money until you deliver on that, if we want it. I'm not talking about litigation, but if it comes to that, then, we'll have some more conversations, but at least hold the check.
And yeah, it's not like regenerating a new report, but kind of like what you were saying, asking for a little bit more behind that report.
Let them get the stuff to us. If we, I mean, unless you got another plan for.
No, I mean, it was really the question before you all, because again, we're moving into, we have our first meeting with Gresham end of this month. We know we got to have talks with Clackamas One, put things in motion for either moving forward. And then, how far does a breach of contract, discussion go? Does AP Triton find, do they say, fine, we will add these components. It probably won't change their recommendations. And I don't know that we can influence that, unfortunately, because I think it's weak.
And as far as their costing goes, I wouldn't. If setting aside where we're at now, if the question is, would we like to have AP Triton do a costing on a fire district? My answer is no.
Okay.
Because I not only did they not do it, they dropped some balls and we had to kind of pick them and help carry them over the finish line on some of this. And so at this point, I'd rather, it's one of those, probably be better off doing it ourselves rather than forcing them to do it.
Well, there's where we're at, because we don't know if we can trust their costing anyway. And I was going to make sure that Seth has looked it over.
Oh,
And so
we
here
went rounds on
Yeah.
technical review.
Here we are,
I'm not their favorite.
checking
person.
their work. And so anyway, if we,
I mean, I'm still happy to relay that, hey, we presented this to our council. They are not happy because, these components, as we've already told you, were missing or kind of the Temu version of what we thought we were getting. What can we do about it? And just kind of leave it there.
It kind of comes down to, like their interpretation of what a district is versus our interpretation of what a district is, and it's very different.
No,
How could it be?
honestly, on the first technical review, you could tell they went a district route somewhere, then it changed to department because the report listed both.
Then
So it was a unilateral change they made. It didn't inform us about it, which again, are the three cities going to go there? No. And there should also be a bit more in that section that explains these costs that are in this chart don't reflect the full cost.
Yeah.
And it certainly doesn't reflect the cost of a district, an independent district. it does touch on the challenges that, yeah, you staff up with, 6 to 8 people on a shift. You're going to use mutual aid a lot because that's all you've got, which is why you wouldn't pursue a 3-city district.
That before. We even figured that out.
Yeah. But to have it laid out before the person, as this goes about the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, the community members some of them will digest this report. They will see that and go, hey, you could do it yourself for 6 million. It's like, no, you cannot.
It'd be like, well, for how long and how well? Not very long and not very well.
Well, at least my opinion on it is at least represent some of the conversation here.
Yep.
And
Happy
see
to.
if they would step up to the plate and say, what can we do about it?
Happy to do that. And would you also then because part of the scope was in a 3-city council presentation on the final report. Is that something you're still interested in having?
Do we have to
here's
pay
my
for them
thought.
to
No.
come out to our meeting?
We would have to, so they scoped presentation, so we would have to pay for the airfare and lodging and rental car
Well,
Oh.
Here's the thought.
to have them in person.
Oh, okay.
Well, I would say I think time is of the essence. And is there a way that you guys, like you and maybe the other city managers and Seth, can be the ones that give us a report versus them? And in there kind of provide some of those comments to say, what we sent as a scope of work does not completely match the report that they are giving us.
Short answer is yes. Obviously, we can present the report. The longer, more complicated answer is when there are questions about some of the research, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
I can't back it up of here. All the sources are cited and it's all there. But I don't want to take heat for something that another agency may not look favorably upon.
I think might be sorry, I was gonna say, I think it might be a good idea to have them Zoom.
Yeah.
Because we can put them in the hot seat and then we can be the ones to kind of start throwing all these questions at them, targeting, these things, and hopefully staff can help us, kind of bullet
Perhaps some
point.
questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, to address these things.
Have we, Jeff hasn't looked at the report.
No.
We just got it.
Jeff has not peeked behind the curtain.
Not a bad idea, but that's just my thinking.
I did in one of my more recent communications, basically say, look, if you don't do this, we're involving legal counsel. That's where we got a little more movement, but
Yeah,
not.
Not a bad idea.
Well, I think, yeah, it's real fair, I think, to just let Jeff look at it now and tell us, no, they fulfilled the contract in the legal sense. So, but getting back to this, the report, tell you what, I wouldn't be citing it with our citizens and start talking about this report. I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know what we're going to do with it, but maybe with it, maybe there is some use in it.
There are, I mean, again, we're highlighting what went sideways and off the rails. There's really good stuff, and including a very powerful graphic that shows, so there's graphics that show what the coverage is now with the current station configuration, kind of in that 4-minute window, 8-minute, then 12 plus. And there's a lot of stuff well outside that 8-minute window and 12-minute window. When you add a station, and they just plunked it middle of Wood Village, and that was fine. It's not going to go where our city hall is. It'll probably be a little further west. Basically, the bulk of our area is 8 minutes or less for response for the 3 cities. That's a very powerful graphic that went along with the survey that said people won't mind paying more for better service. And you combined, some of that, and that becomes a very powerful, the response is right here.
And we'll be able to use it to have a discussion about, here's the standard of coverage for Gresham on their turnout time. Here's the standard of coverage for Clackamas on their turnout time. Here's our current model with Gresham with 1 station and the response time. Here's what the model would look like with 2 stations located within the 3 cities. And so then be able to compare, what are we actually getting? Like how how much of a service improvement are, because that was what was missing from the cost proposal. We weren't buying apples and apples comparing Clackamas and Gresham. And so we have the tools to be able to talk about that much more comprehensively, but that's something that we will have to build. That's not something that they will do.
And I don't want to pay him to do it.
Well,
No.
in the end, we're going to have to answer to this as we move forward. So, it sounds like we got some pieces in that report we can use.
Like I said, there's good pieces, and it resulted in good conversations. Again, it got Clackamas looking at us and putting things together. It got Gresham at least thinking maybe a little differently for the time being about next steps. So, I mean, good came of this. It's also a bit disappointing of the amount of work we had to do to keep a contractor who should be working for us, working for us.
I'm not interested in seeing a presentation from them, but that's my opinion. If we got
The
it.
question is can you fire them? I've not said a word throughout this entire part, but that's what I've been leading up to just listening to all of you. Terminate the contract.
I'll talk with Jeff tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go.
Triton, see what conversations I need to have with Jeff, and we'll go from there.
Good.
I do feel there is value in the presentation just because there's been so much anticipation for this report. And so if we can start having some of those conversations, again, maybe, understand the AP Triton does need to be here so they can
put them in the hot seat.
Yeah, I mean, get put in the hot seat to answer some of the questions we're having,
Mayor,
and
you're
things like-
talking to 3 cities?
I think so, because, then that way it's a collective conversation versus each city having a separate conversation that could be derailed by all sorts of comments and things of that nature. And it's happening in the centralized location.
Well,
And we can, again, keep the movement forward towards what we know we have to get to.
I'm
So-
fair with for the 3 cities.
3 cities.
Benefit of the
Yeah.
3 cities.
Yeah, it'd be a 3-city.
And I mean, we have to look at it this way, this council here is leading the efforts on this manner, has been doing it since for over 2 years. And I would hate to lose that momentum, understanding that we have a year.
Well, and we also have to keep this coalition together.
Yep.
All right, so I think that it's wise to, I was thinking about just us meeting.
Oh, no,
No, it'd be a 3-city.
3 cities.
I'm okay with,
Yeah.
anyway, I think that would be helpful because one way or the other, the 3 of us are gonna have to keep marching together. And we slice and dice this report out so we can get some use out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, you
I-
follow up with the legal questions with it.
Again, some of the issues aside, we'll get use out of this for sure.
Pay the 80% and let it go.
So I'll follow up with them first thing in the morning. So yeah, I'll also work with Ray and Nathan on scheduling a 3-city meeting, probably, early July-ish time. Looks like we'll be able to cancel our July 8th meeting. There is one item on that agenda that we can push. So then we'll kind of replace the July one with a 3 cities one. Probably won't be on the 8th though. We'll find a date and we'll send out a little poll. But that ends the
Bonus?
one of the
One.
yeah the bonus. I think the true bonus is next.
And Councilor Clark asked if he could actually share a couple words first. So
I may have your chair.
Oh, sit up here, sure.
Hey, Greg,
Yes.
you put time in on this too, didn't you? Why don't you just bill them for your $30,000 worth of time?
Yeah, you should be.
Really?
building them.
counter proposal, here we go.
Mayor and council, I sit before you to officially resign on the city council. It's been, this will be the first time I've ever resigned. I've always played out my role as a counselor to finish up a 4-year time limit. And I've done that, I think, twice or.
It was
three
you
times.
finished out a 4-year term, and then you took over for Councilor Jimmy Frank and finished out that term, which was a little under 2 years.
They're 2 years. I did 2 of my own, right?
Yep.
Yes, and it's been over a period of time since 2007,
you joined the planning commission. I think it was 9. The mayor has the dates in front of
It
him.
says here 2005.
Oh, sorry, 2005 to 2007 was planning commission, and then yes, into city council.
Council.
and then there was a
2007.
time where I was also an employee. So, and then, so every single way that you can either get on the council or get off. And now in a resignation, I don't think there's any other way that you can possibly.
You weren't voted off or recalled, so
yeah.
that's not a
Oh.
bad thing.
There you go. There's, so while everybody else was talking about all the different things with this fire thing, my mind just traveled off. Okay. So I went around the room and I thought about, and during my period of time, there were 5 director of public works. There were 4 finance directors. There was only one. I'm not going to try to even come up with how many counselors there was, but there were 5 city mayors, and believe it or not, 4 of them are in this room right now.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. You talk about longevity. That is amazing. So the rest of the time, I just kind of sat and I listened to everybody talk about how beautiful it was to sit here. Oh, and 3 city councilors.
Managers.
Sorry,
Yep.
managers. And actually, there was only 2 city managers and 1 city administrator, right? That is an incredible few people involved. There were tons of counselors that came and went like crazy, like where I had to fill in for Jimmy Franks. And unfortunately, that was a medical. There were tons of medical people that I sometimes wondered if they were really true or not. I know Jimmy Franks was, okay, but we had several of them that would come and go that I really wondered if they truly had a medical reason to leave the council. I think that we're overwhelmed by the responsibility that they had. And I have to have my water because I dry out with stuff. And mine is really medical, unfortunately. And it started out with my son and all of his medical problems that we were going to do, and we were going to rescue him. And it turned out that they're rescuing me, that's what's happened. And you all know my story, and I'm not going to go into it deeply or whatever. We thought that maybe it would take, 4 to 6 months to sell our house. We put it up for sale on a Thursday. It sold on Saturday. The lady who bought it was a cash sale. We had to be out in 12 days. So it's done and gone. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I feel like I was ripped off by my real estate agent because she didn't have to do anything. Just like, wow, that was $30,000 that just poof. And I was like, wow, I should get into that business. But anyway, you all know that I have loved you all. I express that every single meeting. I truly do believe that that is a part of what we are all about in a city. I absolutely have no negativism towards any of you in all of your accomplishments. I truly, truly believe that it takes that kind of commitment to run a city. And we all know our roles. That's probably the most important part. None of us in this room, and that includes our one and only guest here, we don't have to put out rabbits and stuffies, as my grandchildren call them, that we always used to tease about. Remember that? Yeah, I mean, we used to actually put them out when Pat was the mayor. We used to put them out here.
Nobody ever came to the meetings and stuffed animals.
We quit doing it when the cameras came, right? We used to have the mayor that we would do that would be pretty funny. And once we had to get serious about it, then we put them away. And I don't know if Greg, did you ever see us do that or not?
I participated.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think that was the energizer. Oh, we've got stuffed animals.
Right. And Bill really did a lot of energizing our meetings and really got us to change up how we met and stuff. And then Greg has done nothing but just take that and stand on the shoulder of a giant of Mr. Peterson and just, my gosh, he's just done a fantastic job. And he deserves a lot of credit for that. And same way with our mayors that have come along since then. Pat, you did a fantastic job. You really had to step up from a previous mayor that's not in this room. And you did just a fantastic job. And then Scott, you did the same thing, and it just kept going up and up. And my gosh, you know, Jairo, that I just absolutely love what you've been doing in your short term here, and just the counselors coming out there. I love you too, and you just every time I'd nudge you and say, "Okay, it's your turn, your turn." I could tell that you were just on the budget committee for a short time. And I said, I could tell you were going to be a fantastic counselor. And the same thing just went around. Seth, same thing, and Erica, I love you too. And and Becky, I've really put out the praises for you with Greg. And I just can't say enough to thank each and every one of you for everything that you've done. And I know I'm a motor mouth, so that's my presentation. And I apologize for Mary not being here. She said, I don't remember who I was talking, Jairo, and we were talking and Mary just said, no, I will refuse to come because although she would be here and in a meeting and what have you, and be very open and for discussion and stuff, she hates to be centered. So she's so shy. And so that's why she's not here. And so I do apologize for that for her, but otherwise I'll go back to my chair.
Okay.
Yeah. Councilor Clark mentioned a lot of what I already had on here, so I won't repeat it. But yes, a special thank you to both you and Mary for all the service that you guys have done for the city and have kind of laid a pathway for us, newer counselors and mayors and that have been in this role. So being able to really set a foundation for us is crucial. So really appreciate that. And you will be very missed on the council with your extensive knowledge in water and, that realm of sewer.
And sewer.
And the sewers. So thank you so much for your service.
You're welcome. I, right, Greg?
If I have maybe 4 comments to make, I'll be quick. One is because things move so quickly, we didn't have a special, you've already got a lot of plaques from every time you've gone off the council. So we're working on a special plaque and didn't have it in time for this evening, but it's in the works. There are 2 memories imprinted on your service with the council. Both involve my dad. One involved you and him at a night out with balloons.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Was there beer too?
No, but there was helium.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
The other one is
With your father, right?
the other one because of your advocacy for utilities, your knowledge of utilities. My dad gave you a special T-shirt that Mark knows his stuff, we'll call it.
Otherwise known as SHIT.
Yeah. But truly, your support of the utilities, your passion for utilities has been great for our community, for our organization, has allowed us to make strategic investments over the last several decades, but certainly in the very recent years, we know you're very supportive of everything. A lot of resources gone into, updating the SCADA system, updating our wells and our sewer, and just appreciate your support for that, which is transferred, to the council and understanding something I think we all it's easy to take for granted until it doesn't work. And, working to prevent it not working is a great investment. So just thank you for all your years of dedicated utility investment.
Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.
Oh, treat for the counselor. He can choose to share it or not. I'll go.
As long as it's under $50, right?
Yes.
Right.
Under $50.
Right, counselor? Yeah.